This is the KhoodeelaarTVChannel television channel being broadcast on the internet under the banner of Baby Angel Geronimo Editions. This edition is timed at 10:20 GMT on Saturday, the 6th of January 2024. Of the reports in the Fleet Street papers, two pictures very similar. One taken the front page splash space of the scum, featuring Kate Garraway and her husband Derek Draper, and another one which is active dancing Kate Garraway with Derek Draper. Derek Draper has, of course, passed away at age 56. Now, Derek Draper is the second of the persons in public life that passed away over the last 24 hours. The other one is the Starsky and Hutch actor David Soul. What is remarkable is that both of those are treated as being genuinely respected and well regarded by the public, which doesn't happen with the likes of, say, for example, the racist Australian German, John Pilger, who passed away in the last week or so, but the scumbag has got a life in brief feature in the I newspaper, weekend I newspaper. Racist frame of references used by the Western racist observers, writers, etc. The new SS was being edited at the time by one of the racist Pilger's mates. As I've said before, Pilger the racist worked his way to the so-called top as a television documentary maker, claiming to be specializing on colonialism, imperialism, etc., etc. But in the pursuit for the top post, the racist liar de-recognized the entire continents of Africa and Asia. By the continents of Africa and Asia, I refer, of course, to the on-site, on-the-ground fighters and campaigners, Asian campaigners, African campaigners against colonialism and imperialism. Now, Derek Draper specialized, of course, in his early career as a very active operator, supporting the Blair-fronted regime. And David Soul, of course, without any doubt, became an icon internationally by playing the Ken Hutch detective series sold by the USA. So those two are remembered with some genuine regard by most people. And it seems that the newspapers are also in agreement with the majority of the people about Derek Draper and David Soul. This doesn't happen. Not very often. In fact, most actors and ex-political operatives are condemned. And as I have demonstrated, John Pilger, the racist liar, very short, kind of intolerant and jealous. I think Pilger reminds of the lying still Livingstone. Because Ken lying still Livingstone was jealous in the same way as Pilger was. As can be judged by Ken lying still Livingstone. Short quotation against me, as published by the racist cunt of The Guardian on the 5th of March, 1992, Sarah Bosley. That piece of attack on me was headed The Angry Messiah of E1. E1 meaning East 1, East London. And they were focusing on me and my political campaigning around the issue of my campaign against the racists at the then Stratford School, a so-called grant-maintained school based in Stratford area in the London borough of Newham in East London, 1992. And my campaign was being conducted by the organization London Collective of Black Governors, which I chair and which I democratically took control of in 1988 at a publicly held meeting of African, Caribbean, and Asian governors and managers held in a school in Camden, London. Now, going back to the issue of the private lie, talking about the memorable events in the boroughs that took place allegedly during 2023. There is a short mention about Camden, about what I would call the ceremonial mayor at the expense of Camden Council, Camden people, somebody called Nasim Ali, who was traveling in chauffeur-driven vehicle hired for a period, a few months, I think, at a cost to the people of Camden of more than £17,000. How then did the cunts at Private Lie miss the criminality, continuing criminality in which Luther Roman has been festering in Tower Hamlets, where Luther Roman has been abusing millions of pounds already? The reference to already, or the reference in the already word, is to the election in 2022, when the Labour Party crooks in Tower Hamlets allowed the proven crook Luther Rahman to be elected as mayor at the election in May 2022. How many criminal activities has Luther Rahman been indulging in? We shall be going into the details in the near future. Going back to the question of the continuing reports in the Fleet Street papers, mainly about Andrew Windsor, the proven rapist who has been the subject of the newly unsealed court papers, ordered to be unsealed by the particular judge in New York. These papers are unsealed from a court case launched by Virginia Jeffrey. Jeffrey is spelled in a different way, G-U-I-F-F-R-E, rather than J-E-F-F-R-E-Y. So Virginia Jeffrey had sued Ghislaine Maxwell in 2015 in an American court over Ghislaine Maxwell's lies for Epstein. And as part of the evidence in that case, lots of names have been mentioned and lots of interactions have been stated. And the names that have been mentioned include, of course, the complete criminal, Bill Clinton, the complete criminal arsehole of his ilk. And these are not being particularly focused on in the UK media. The UK media is mainly focusing on the so-called allegations against Andrew Windsor. And the King Brian is being told to ditch the liar, the rapist. There is a question there. King Brian is not the depository of honesty, integrity, and opposition to racism. Because Harry doesn't want to sink King Brian completely, Harry Windsor has refused to go into the details of the racist goings on within the part of the monarchy that King Brian, as Prince Charles, inhabited at the relevant times. There is a story going around on the internet today, which cites the Newsweek magazine in the USA, saying the demands are increasing for King Brian to give up his throne and pave the way for William. Now, if that happens sooner than it should do, I think that the decline of the monarchy will be expedited rather than delayed. Whoever is suggesting that William will prove to be a better monarch than King Brian the royal family is racist, has been racist. And with the Kate Middleton driving the whole show, it will be a disaster. It will be a disaster that all the Fleet Street attackers of Harry and Meghan have not yet understood the magnitude of, and the disaster will sink the British monarchy. Because both Williams and Kate are very manipulative individuals, completely intolerant of criticism, intolerant of black people, really, in the monarchy, in the royal family. And this will be a disaster. And also they are selfish. They are selfish. So King Brian, if he has got any sense, will take the hint from the publication of the kind of piece attributed to the Newsweek, and he will make sure that he can stay in the throne longer than the demands suggest he should. The other thing about the papers is, of course, the post office scandal. The Horizon computer system and the stated prosecution and harassment and torture of postmasters generally by the post office bureaucracy. The Saturday edition of the Daily Mail is, of course, focusing on the bureaucrat in charge of the post office, who they say should be deprived of the gong that she has got. Now, that is not a very responsible kind of holding to account, given the harassment and the criminality of prosecution so many stated innocent postmasters and postmistresses. Having said that, this is doing the rounds generally about the country in the papers. Let's talk about the reality of post office staff, counter staff in general. Post office counter staff are not angels, and they are, except about 5, at most 10% of counter staff in post offices in London, let's say, the vast majority of post office counter staff are unhelpful, offensive, insulting, disrespectful to customers. So while the attacks on the post office personnel, postmasters and mistresses, has been about the post office's use of the Horizon system, the interaction that ordinary people using the post office or wanting to use the post office, or most importantly, needing to use the post office have, is a negative one. And there is no hint in any of the papers, in any of the play that is now running about the Horizon computer system disaster. There is no reference or recognition whatsoever to the ordinary people. So if we take stock and talk about the ordinary people versus the NHS bureaucracies, ordinary people as Transport for London bureaucracies, ordinary people as versus the members of parliament, ordinary people versus the elected councillors, ordinary people versus the various central government departments. Ordinary people simply don't exist. The ordinary people don't seem to have any rights, any needs, or any special care entitlements, any entitlements to be treated with respect. And there is a question about this catwalk model who Ruslana Korshunova, who died in a suicide, who spent some time on the Rapist Island, Jeffrey Epstein's Rapist Island, when she was 18. The question is, how is it that these girls, these children, were allowed to be manipulated when they were children? And how did they get manipulated? The main culprit in the allegation, Ghislaine Maxwell, denies that she ever did any manipulation, or she even ever met most of the victims of Epstein's pedophile rapists gang. So who actually played the part of manipulating these children? That needs serious investigation. Now, there is a piece by Andrew Neil Nasty Neil in the Daily Mail Saturday, where the headline says that words to the effect that Keir Starmer already has broken more promises while in opposition than most prime ministers break when they're in government. Now, that is a very kind of reliable, factual statement, but ethically and morally, it's a timid, opportunistic and self-serving comment, because I have called K.R. Starmer now more than 2 years ago. I have been calling him the political murderer of the Labour Party. I'm a fan of the Labour Party bureaucracy, and I never have been. When I say that K.R. Starmer is the political murderer of the Labour Party, I think about and I refer to, and I intend to refer to, the founding purposes of the Labour Party. Just like when I talk about the NHS collectively, I talk about the founding purposes of the NHS, just as I do about the United Nations, the founding purposes of the United Nations organization. When a movement is begun, or when the movement takes place, or a movement gathers momentum about any object, this is a movement for the establishment of Pakistan as the now deposed Prime Minister of Pakistan of the Tehreek-e-Insaf party founder Imran Khan has said, the Hakiki Azadi for Pakistan has not been established, and it needs to be established. Now this is 487, is it 87, 77? 77 years since the British were forced to leave in 1947. And in the 77 years, the Hakiki Azadi has not been established in Pakistan, whether it's in the truncated, reduced state of Pakistan, which used to be West Pakistan, or in the pre-16th of December 1971 Pakistan, which included East Pakistan, which since the 16th of December 1971 has become Bangladesh. There was no true, real independence in Pakistan, either East or West. And the fact that the Sheikh Mujib fronted Awami League was able to gather any amount of attention, during the years leading up to December 1970, when the general election took place. The fact that Sheikh Mujib was able to get that kind of support that he did do shows that in East Pakistan, the real fighters for the creation of a independent state of Pakistan, who did not include the Awami League, they had given up already. The various parts of the Muslim League that had been active as the combined All India Muslim League up to the 14th of August 1947 began to disintegrate with effect from August 1947. And there was no real platform. There was no real platform for the continuation of the campaign, continuation of the argument for Pakistan after the 14th of August 1947 in East Pakistan. And what became West Pakistan, there was anything but real enthusiasm for Pakistan. So as Imran Khan is now incarcerated under various completely trumped up charges by the military dominated Pakistan regime. The need for real independence could not be more urgent. But there is no sign that even though Imran Khan does say that, he does promise to bring about real independence in Pakistan, there is nothing in the culture of the Tehreek-e-Insaf party, which he founded and he heads, that have got the full understanding of the magnitude of the need to have real independent Pakistan. And the same goes with East Pakistan, which is Bangladesh. There is election going on. There is a pathetic charade in the name of election that is scheduled to be taking place right now in Bangladesh, which is starting to be the 7th of January 2024. There is no manifesto in any part of Bangladesh political party that is fit for the country. There is no manifesto whatsoever. And the political parties that I decry, of course, include the Awami League that is fronted by Sheikh Hasina. And it is followed by, in numbers, followed by the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, whose leadership I'm not sure about. Who leads it? There is no evidence that the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, which was founded by Ziaur Rahman, has got anything in its structure, in its organization, that can deliver true, independent, free, sovereign Bangladesh at all. Because apart from Mirza Fakhrul Islam, I cannot see any evidence of anyone who is on a basic level articulating a political statement. Even if Mirza Fakhrul Islam is competently articulating a political statement, the substance of what he can articulate is very limited indeed. He is not free, although he is free. He is not free because the Bangladesh Nationalist Party is not a democratic organization. It's not an accountable organization. So even if the Bangladesh Nationalist Party were to appeal to the voters in Bangladesh, which they are not doing anyway, because they are boycotting it again, what would they possibly offer to the people whose votes they would be asking for? They have no hinterland. They have no background whatsoever, except the name Ziaur Rahman. But with his assassination in 1981, Ziaur Rahman actually ceased to be actively relevant to the people's lives because he was no longer in power. Those who were in power in his name, capitalizing on the fact that he was assassinated and was a martyr, didn't have the fitness to deliver a united, independent, self-respecting, competent government for the future independent country. And there is no evidence that in the Bangladesh Nationalist Party there is any understanding of the magnitude of the challenge that they must actually deliver on. The challenge is on democracy, on accountability, on competence, on self reliance internationally. And there is no awareness on the evidence available in the Bangladesh Nationalist Party that they understand the sickness, the massive sickness, political sickness that is occurring across the board surrounding Bangladesh, in India dominated by the Hindutva fascists. The Bangladesh Nationalist Party has been cowardly. It has been completely cowardly in relation to India. And it has actually retreated into having a zero point of reference about what is going on in India. What is going on in India impacts 80% of what goes on in India, actually impacts on Bangladesh, as it does on Pakistan. But there is no sign either the Pakistan of today or Bangladesh today has got any political grouping that is fit for leadership, that has the courage, the knowledge, the ability to deliver a distinction between the Hindutva fanatic fascists and the secular democratic values that the majority of Indians actually desperately need. Both Pakistan and Bangladesh should, in effect, unite in delivering challenges to the Hindutva fanatics by challenging them on the poverty, on the lack of basic human rights available to the majority of the people in India. There is nothing that can be lost by either Pakistan or Bangladesh mounting that kind of challenge to either the Modi fronted Hindutva regime or the Shah fronted Hindutva regime or the Hindutva regime that may come from the other parts of the fascistic Hindu kind of core. 90% of the people of India who are in poverty, 90% of the people of India who are in lack of housing, proper housing, 90% of the people who are lacking in education are non-Hindus or non-Brahmins. And their voice is not being heard in India through any of the political parties that are allowed to be politically active in India. This is the voice that Bangladesh and Pakistan need to be echoing. Shall be ending this particular edition and will continue in due course on all these topics that have been mentioned and the topics that are overdue to be mentioned.